ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We'll continue reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita book, chapter 8. Abhay soon received a letter from Bhakti Saranga Goswami assistant, carefully instructing him how to travel to Delhi at the least expense. He was to travel by train, third class to Delhi, and from there take a tanga. Since tangas at the station gate charged too much, Abhay should first walk about 100 meters towards the right hand side of the station where he would find a cheaper one. Where he to ride alone. He should pay no more than 1 rupee and 12 annas, but he should try to share the tanga with another passenger. That would be cheaper, keeping the crematorium to your left hand side. The assistant instructed him, if you look towards the right, then you will be able to see a red flag and a signboard written in Hindi and English. When you reach here, we will pay for the tanga. At the Gaudiya Sangha, Abhay found a disconcerting state of affairs. In the absence of their guru, Bhakti Saranga Goswami, the brahmacharis were quarreling and shirking their duties, and as a result, the preaching and donation gathering were being neglected. Cleanliness, deity worship, cooking, and even peace amongst the devotees were below standard. And like most of the mathas of his god brothers, the Gaudiya Sangha was poor. Abhay had come thinking he would be editing a magazine, but he found himself contending with a group of quarreling neophyte devotees. He learned that the brahmachari responsible for giving public lectures had not done any preaching. The devotees who had previously been holding kirtans in people's homes were now negligent, and the errand boy refused to run because he had lost his bicycle. Then a brahmachari handed Avai a letter from Bhakti Saranga Goswami requesting him to take up the general management of the matha. Inspire everyone to be engaged in service. Otherwise, I do not know how we are going to print the English monthly magazine. Since we don't have much money in the fund and since the brahmacharis are quite careless, Akinchan Maharaj wrote that he is unable to take the responsibility of the management. It will be very nice if you could keep your eyes on these affairs. And Abhay found other obstacles in trying to produce Sajjana Tusani, no typewriter, and bad relations with the printer. In a few days, Abhay received another letter from Bhakti Sarang Goswami telling him what articles to print, cautioning him not to change essential elements in the magazine and reminding him of his special duty. I have asked Akinchan Maharaj to hand over the keys of my room to you so that you may use my room only for your office work. As you are there, you should try to maintain peace in the ashram for giving necessary instructions to one and all. Abhay saw that he could do no editorial work until the laxity and petty quarreling in the ashram stopped. But when he tried to help, as Bhakti Sarang Goswami had directed, some of the devotees rebelled and even wrote to their spiritual master complaining. It was against many obstacles that Abhay made the publisher's deadline for the August 1955 issue of Sajjan Tosani. Yet, owing to the printer's delay, the magazine did not come out until September. When at last the first copies were delivered, Abhay sent several to Bhakti Sarang Goswami in Calcutta asking for his response. Abhay never heard from his godbrother directly. but received further instructions from Bhaktisarang Goswami's secretary Ramanand, who pointed out various mistakes in the issue without mentioning whether Bhaktisaranga had been pleased with it. The errors were mostly technical matters of style. Abhay had done the contents page in a different way and had not printed Bhaktisaranga Goswami's name exactly as he had wanted it on all his articles. Regarding Abhay's request for a typewriter, Ramanand wrote that if the matters are distinctly written, there is no necessity of them being given to the printer in typewriting. Abhay wrote to Bhakti Sarang Goswami requesting him to return to Delhi and establish a peaceful atmosphere in the Matha. Regarding Sajjana Toshani, Bhakti Sarang Goswami had suggested that the paper for the cover be improved and that the whole magazine be done on nicer paper by an up-to-date press, and Abhay agreed. But improvements depended on money. The suggestion that the paper may be printed from Calcutta is all right, but my suggestion is that either in Calcutta or in Delhi, we must have our own press with good equipment so that we may be able to broadcast the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all the important languages, especially in Hindi and in English. Hindi is meant for all India propaganda, while English is meant for worldwide propaganda. Abhay further reported that since it was almost impossible to expect a printer to work speedily from handwritten manuscripts, he had already rented a typewriter. He also mentioned his ideas for increasing the number of subscribers. Abhay's son, Vrindavan, came to live with him for a few months at the Gaudiya Sangha. There was no question of Abhay's returning to his family, and Vrindavan simply associated with his father, following the routines of the Matha and helping Abhay in his duties. One day, a prominent advocate, the president of the Hindu Mahasabha, paid an unexpected visit to the Gaudiya Sangha. The matha was mostly deserted and there was no prasadam on hand. So Abhay and Vrindavan received the prominent guest, cooking for him, offering him prasadam, and acquainting him with the activities of the Sangha. When Abhay was not busy managing the disorganized matha and working on Gaudiya Patrika and Sajjana Tosani, he spent his time preparing a Hindi translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Although he was more accustomed to writing in English and Bengali, he reasoned that as long as he was preaching in Hindi speaking areas, such a book would be important. Bhakti Sarang Goswami wrote that he wanted to print only 500 copies of Sajjana Tosani for the September issue. But Abhay wanted to print more. After making an agreement with the printer that the charges would be the same for 1000 copies as for 500, he wrote Bhakti Sarang Goswami informing him of the good news. Abhay also told him that he had recently secured a donation of printing paper and that he had arranged for a 1/4 reduction in the postal charges. So, why, for the matter of saving some papers, we shall not print the full number? In my opinion, we should print more than 1,000 copies every month and distribute them in large scale. But Bhakti Saranga replied through a brief postcard that they should print no more than 500. So we'll stop here the reading today. We'll see tomorrow like what's going on, why Bhakti Sarang Goswami Maharaj he don't want to print more than 500 copies. So from today's reading, we can understand that how much difficulty Srila Prabhupada faced in the initial phase of his preaching life. That after he left home, when nobody from his family members supported him in his spiritual life, he left home, and how much struggle he was doing that even inside India, how much struggle he was doing is to print some books and to not to do the preaching activity. So more and more we'll read, we can understand that how much difficulty again, if he was facing this much difficulty in his own country, how much difficulty he has to face in a Western country, even like which is not his country. So you can see, like, even though the press was ready to print 1,000 copies at the cost of 500 copies, still Bhakti Saran Goswami Maharaj was not was not interested to print that many copies for that particular month. And also this Sajan Tosani, uh, for that printing of that particular magazine. Then it's also described how that time in the Gaudiya Mutt, there was no unity among the brahmacharis. Like always, there was some quarrel, fight going on, no cleanliness, no preaching activity. And Srila Prabhupada was interested for all these things like preaching activity, printing of books. Even you see, like he was doing Hindi translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita because he was trying to do some preaching activity among Hindi speaking people. And so, yes, so the summary of today's reading is like we can understand how much difficulty he was facing in his spiritual life at the beginning. Now we can see around all over the world so many temples, ISKCON temples, so many books easily available to us. All the books translated in all the different languages, and it's so easily available online and in like physical copies. But initial days it was so difficult. We have to understand that. Then from that this thing, we can understand how much effort Srila Prabhupada has put for our benefit. He knew everything. It was not for himself, it's for the entire human society. So from that we can understand how important those books are, and we have to, like Srila Prabhupada always says, he lives through his books. So we have to give our time to read Srila Prabhupada books by thinking and understanding that how much effort he has put for behind those, how much effort was there behind those books. We have to be very respectful and we have to read those books every day.